This video is a review of the sample workspace for the automatic Fibonacci combination pack indicator for TradeStation. If you're comfortable with Twitter, search for the hashtag Fibonacci or Fibonacci trading to see how myself and other traders use the ratios for trade opportunities, setups, and targets. Before we delve into the indicators, I want to send out a heartfelt thank you to the community of subscribers. Each one of these push pins represents a subscriber to the indicator as of the end of July 2018. When we get a large subscriber base, we get a lot of good feedback, inputs, and suggestions, and it's from those suggestions that this latest update was generated. The indicator history, let's take a look. Version 1 started out with 6 independent indicators, each generating automatic Fibonacci retracements based on different time ranges. Version 3 saw 5 of those indicators merged into a new indicator called HFibs for greater usability, easier to use, as well as configurability of the label. Most recent version 6 sees the introduction of hfibs.table for radar screen support, and for hfibs and hfibs.table the S-session support. hfibs.table is the new indicator that provides autofib support in a radar screen. It works conceptually the same as the chart-based indicator, as a new swing high or swing low is generated in the specific session. It stores that value, calculates the different ranges in between, calculates the current retracement, and provides you a color coding for where the last price is as it pertains to references of these different retracements. The coloration is configurable, and they represent the swing direction should you be using any of these levels as a trade entry. Green means you would be fading a 23.6 long. Red means you would be trading fading a 23.6 short. Want to make sure that some of the nuances of the radar screen are understood. When you build your radar screen and you insert the symbol, I'd suggest at the end you right-click the column, select Format Symbol, All Symbols, and make sure you have your interval settings and your session to be what is appropriate. If you're looking for retracements during the current trading day, I would select 1 minute for the interval sessions and use regular session. When you look at the indicator and you go into the General tab, as I said previously, the update tick by tick is available. If it's not selected at the various different intervals that you have for the radar screen, that's when the ranges will be updated. Very small performance utilization if you use update tick by tick. The other thing you need to keep in mind is you must select load additional data for accumulative calculations, and you must pick a value for additional bars to load that is more than appropriate. What do I mean by more than appropriate? First of all, this forces upon loading of the indicator TradeStation to go and acquire historical data. This tells how much data to get as far as bars go. In this case, 1 minute bar. How would you define what the right value is? Well, let's take a look. Let's assume you're using a US equity. The regular trading session trades 6.5 hours in a day, which is 390 minutes, which would represent 390 1-minute bars or 78 5-minute bars. Therefore, you would use, let's say, 391 if you were using a 1 minute, or 79 if you were using a 5-minute. Now the challenge comes in that the equity futures regular session trades 6.75 hours, so it's a larger number. And finally, foreign exchange basically trades 24 hours a day, And in a 1-minute bar, that comes out to 1440 minutes. So you will see the default value for the additional bars to load to be 1441. There's no harm in leaving it a number that's too large. What that will do is upon loading of the radar screen, it will just force TradeStation to load a bit more data than is necessary. There's no impact to the system, your system, after the data is loaded. The next change in this latest version is the introduction of the session equal S choice. And what that does is it eliminates the need to set the end time and the start time. It uses the session settings to define those times. So if you're using an equity and it's a regular session, the indicator is smart enough to know that the regular session and exchange time starts at 9:30 and goes to 4 o'clock. If you change the equities to use the US stock with pre and post market custom session, the indicator will reset at 8 o'clock, at 9:30, and at 4 o'clock. If you use the regular session for a continuous futures product, it's smart enough to know that that starts at 5 o'clock. This is an addition, this is not a replacement. The purpose of this was to make it easier for those of you who are using the same chart for multiple different types of symbols with multiple different start times. We're going to look into the workspace in a moment, sample workspace. It has 3 different windows in it. There's one radar screen and 2 charts. The radar screen has 4 different tabs. The Dow and the Qs tab has a trading idea. You'll look and see if when you format it, you'll see session equals S. And remember how we talked about previously that you need to be aware of the interval in session on a radar screen and the configuration on the general tab. The radar screen has many symbols in it and is linked. There's a 5-minute chart that's linked to the radar screen using HFib session equal S. And there's a 30-minute chart linked to the radar screen, which is using the weekly session. When you open up the sample workspace, you should get a screen that looks similar to this. There's the radar screen with the indicator hfibs.table installed. There's a 5-minute chart that has the indicator set for session S, which is the intraday. There's a 30-minute chart that has the indicator installed showing you the weekly retracements. There are 4 tabs in the radar screen: Dow, Q, Futures, and FX, primarily to show you that the indicator works regardless of the type of symbol you use. The Dow radar screen also includes a net change from close column sorted in a decreasing manner. The Dow, as you know, is a price weighted index, and so if you sort all the components in the Dow based on the price change, you'll see which components had the greatest influence on the change or the movement in the Dow itself. And should you find a trade opportunity, if you want to trade with the market, you are looking for stocks, in this case, the largest impacts to the change in price that are trading in a similar location in its daily range. You can see by this, the Dow Cash is up basically at its 23.6 retracement on the day's range. Boeing is even higher at just an 11% retracement. Compare that to Apple. Now remember, the red means it's in fact in the opposite direction. Apple is in fact trading down towards the bottom of the day. I find using this type of setup makes it easy to find Dow stocks that might be appropriate for a day trade. Similar concept with the Qs. I believe this has got the top 45 or so by market cap components of the NASDAQ 100. You have the index value there, but instead these are sorted by market cap. So not the best proxy to do that with, but it's a mechanism to help focus on which components in the index might be the best to trade. You see the NASDAQ made a high early in the day, a low later in the day, and now it's moving on up, potentially for a fade short. Yeah, you may choose not to short it at all, but that's why the color's red. Compare it to Amazon, which is moving in an entirely different direction, pushing new highs on the day. The green coding suggests, since it's a trend up day, there's a green or an opportunity for a long. The Futures tab is really there to show you the flexibility of the Session S. You see we're now looking at Amazon on this chart without changing the inputs to the indicator. Because session equals S, it's smart enough to know that the session began at exchange time at 5 p.m. last night for the ES futures and at 8:30 this morning for the .D. Likewise, gold, oil, 10-year, they all have different trading days, time frames in the day. And again, finally, foreign exchange, again showing you the flexibility, being able to hone in. Here it again starts at 5 o'clock, building your retracement. Now that we've gone through the sample workspace, what's the next steps? I'd suggest you download the documentation. You can either get it on the Trading App Store on the product page or on my website with its product page. Website is indybyharvey.weebly.com. If you have any questions, send me an email at indy.by.harvey@gmail.com. Then open and use the sample workspace. Don't be afraid to make some modifications and changes. I want to thank you for subscribing, but before we end this video, I really want to request that you generate a review for the product. If you remember earlier in the presentation how many Pushpin subscribers there were, as of this date when this video was done, there was only 8 individuals who have left a review. It's easy enough to do. You just go back, click on the product page, scroll down to the end of that page, click on write a review, and you're all done. I hope you find value in this indicator pack, and thank you for your time.